thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hannah Fernandez, and you're watching SCORE TV. Whether you are a new entrepreneur or an established business owner, our SCORE mentors can offer you free business advice, mentoring, and other resources. To connect with us, check out our website at chicago.score.org. You can also email us at info@scorechicago.org or call us at 312-353-7724. Now, this is a live show, so please feel free to call in with questions. And the call-in number is 312-738-1060. Now, if you want to learn how to start and grow your business, stay tuned and my guest today can help. Jeff Nicholson runs the consulting practice for SCORE Chicago and has conducted the How to Really Start Your Business workshop for 5 years. With over 36 years of banking experience, Jeff has financed and guided business owners across a wide range of industries. So you're in for a treat today. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, my pleasure.
Awesome. So I know that you've been a SCORE mentor for 5 years now. So tell us, what really inspired you to become a volunteer mentor for SCORE?
Well, there were really two reasons. The first is that I wanted to give back to the community. You know, there's nothing more rewarding than working with a business owner and getting them to launch a business successfully, or working with an existing business and getting them to the next level. That's really satisfying.
Absolutely.
The second reason was to keep fresh.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to be a good advisor, you have to stay current with what's going on in the business world. So you have to have a thirst for knowledge. And so I think SCORE kind of made me thirsty.
I love it, because you do always learn from the people that you coach as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So tell us, what is life really like for entrepreneurs? I mean, what can our viewers and other business owners expect?
Well, you know, if you go to the internet or the library and look up what is entrepreneur life like, what you'll find is articles on Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or you know, all of the big success stories, but you don't get a lot of what's really going on most of the time for most people.
Right.
So let me see if I can paint a little picture.
Sure.
Right now, about 6% of the adult population in the U.S. has owning a business as their primary job. So at that point, you're in an exclusive club, 6%.
Yeah, absolutely.
But exclusivity has two edges to it. So what you'll find is that people in your support network, like family members and friends, they haven't had the experience. And so oftentimes they can't relate to the problems and issues that you're trying to address.
I hear you. I hear that a lot from a lot of entrepreneurs.
Well, another thing that isn't talked about a lot is today, of the 30 million small businesses in America, a little over 80% of them are one-person companies.
So they're doing it all.
They're doing everything. That really results in a very lonely life.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you've got a support network that may not be connected with you and you're working all by yourself, that can be very lonely.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of emotional trauma that you go through in trying to launch your business and to maintain it after you get started. And so there's some anxiety and stress that you really need to deal with.
For sure.
And most founders, I've found, are not willing to share that experience. They do the fake it until you make it perspective. And so they suffer in silence. And that silence, or that hiding, it doesn't really help matters.
No, not at all.
Now, the purpose I'm talking about this is not to scare anyone off.
Of course.
But it's to get you prepared for what is more than likely the journey that you'll have to face.
Exactly. And, you know, Jeff made a great point, because sometimes I hear from a lot of small business owners that would actually cry in the dark by themselves. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, that is not uncommon. A lot of us go through it, and as founders of our companies, you do have to have that strong face. You're absolutely right about that. So, you know, given all the challenges right now of being an entrepreneur and a small business owner, based on your experience, what are the most important traits of a successful entrepreneur?
Well, it's really interesting that entrepreneurship really didn't come into focus until about 10 years ago. Example, here in Illinois, there were only 3 colleges that offered even courses in entrepreneurship 10 years ago.
That's it?
This year, 28 colleges and universities, including junior colleges, have multiple courses in entrepreneurship,
Right.
and many of them offer degrees.
Oh, I love hearing that.
So this is a new movement,
Yes.
really since 2008, in my judgment. And the Founders Institute in California started a boot camp for
Okay.
entrepreneurs
Yes.
back in 2008. And in order to get into the boot camp, you had to pass a pre-admissions test.
Okay.
So they were looking for certain traits to get you into the program to ensure a greater probability of success. And so
Right.
you took this test, and if you had a strong demonstration of those traits, you could become a part of the boot camp.
Oh, got it. So what are those traits?
Well, the first one is what they call fluid intelligence.
Can you tell us more about that?
Well-
Fluid intelligence.
It's
Make a note of that.
It's really analyzing complex situations and then applying new rules.
Okay.
That's what they mean by fluid intelligence. And the second one is openness,
Okay.
which is a desire to devour fresh ideas, to be
Yes.
creative and have a lot of curiosity.
You have to. That's crucial.
And the third one was agreeableness. Not only cooperation, but really a willingness to collaborate with other people.
Okay.
And if you talk to the guys at the Founders Institute, they'll tell you that being an entrepreneur is being more like an artist in their
Sure.
minds than being a business manager.
Okay.
So at the same time the Founders Institute was working, 2 venture capitalists and a McKinsey consultant decided they wanted to study
Okay.
500 successful entrepreneurs.
Gotcha.
And for successful, they mean the company was either taken public or it was sold to someone else. So that's a pretty high bar.
Yeah, it is.
So they studied these 500 entrepreneurs and came up with they thought was the schema for what are the most important traits for a successful entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
And the first one is heart.
Hard.
And
Love it.
62% of those entrepreneurs, that was a dominant trait for them. And what heart means is it's passion, sacrifice, and an unshakable commitment to an outcome.
Sure.
So that's what heart is. The second one was smarts. Has nothing to do with IQ, but it has to do with being rational,
Right.
following rules, and focusing on processes.
Sure.
And the third one is guts,
Guts. Okay.
which is, about conviction.
I agree. It's not for the faint of heart.
Well,
Being an
and let's
entrepreneur.
face it, entrepreneurship, launching a business is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
It is.
And so what guts is really about is about stamina. And then the last one is luck. And luck was dominant in 25% of the entrepreneurs that were studied.
Yes.
And it's not about gambling,
Right.
but it's about having a positive attitude. It's about creating your own luck. And it's about really seizing opportunities proactively when they're dropped in your lap. Well, and if I were to take all the stuff that I've read recently and try to boil it down,
Right.
I'd say the 3 most important requirements for a successful entrepreneur is to be passionate about your idea,
Passionate. Okay.
to have stamina so that you can withstand the long journey,
Yes.
and have curiosity so that you explore things in the right way.
Gotcha. Got it. And sometimes, talking about curiosity, sometimes the breakthrough in your business can be found in other industries outside of what you're working on. Is that correct? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people are focused on if you don't have experience in my particular field,
Right.
you can't really contribute, but I don't believe that.
yeah.
I believe that there's certain disciplines, certain paths to follow that are appropriate regardless of the industry that you're in.
And the fundamentals stay the same, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha.
I mean, I believe that very strongly.
Got it. And, thank you so much for sharing that. So make sure you take a note of that. That's very, very important to go ahead and make sure you have those traits so that you will become successful. And also, you do hear a lot of businesses nowadays failing. So From what you've seen out there, can you tell us the real success rate of the new businesses being launched right now?
Well, the government and the SBA has been capturing success rate information for decades. They do it for companies that are 2 employees or more.
Okay.
And so here's what it looks like. In the first 2 years, 31% of the companies fail.
31.
31%.
That's rather high.
Well,
Yeah.
it gets higher. So if the companies that survived after 2 years, what happens 2 years forward?
Right.
After 4 years, another 33% of the companies go by the board. So those companies that are still in existence after 4 years,
Okay.
only 51% of them survive to the end of the 5th year.
Wow.
So if you do the math,
Right.
it's really 24% of the companies that start are still in existence after 5 years. Now, after 5 years, the good news is longevity gets much stronger.
So there's hope.
So
if you
there's
make
hope.
it that far.
But in reality, it takes, 2 to 3 years to maybe get your business launched.
Okay.
You got 5 years until you can really get your feet firmly planted.
Sure.
So we're talking about a 7 or 8 year term. That's what a marathon is.
Yeah.
And that's why stamina, curiosity, and passion are so critical.
Exactly.
Now, the government hasn't captured single people companies. And if you remember what I said earlier, 80% of the companies today in small business are single employee companies.
Yeah.
And part of the problem there is that they start a business and then they can work out of the basement and they fly under the radar of the government.
Gotcha.
It's only when you have an employee do you have to do things that now the government can capture the information.
Got it.
So if you go to the internet, you will find people that have said, well, we studied and here's what the success rates are. I just don't think they're very reliable.
Got it.
But 24% is 24%.
Sure, exactly.
And if you go back, which I have, I've looked at these numbers going back to 1994 and through 2015, which is the latest available.
Okay.
And they're all remarkably the same. The numbers are all the same. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the boom times of the 90s, the dot-com failures in early 2000s, the recession in 2008,
Right.
the numbers I talked about, they're the same every year.
Oh, wow.
So this 24% and the stamina and the
Right.
passion thing is really in our fabric here in America.
Gotcha. Now, why do you think that is? Why do so many startups fail?
Well, to be honest, there's a myriad of reasons.
Okay.
But let me see if I can kind of couch it a little better.
Okay.
Inc. magazine went to their Inc. 500, and that's the 500 fastest growing small companies in America.
Okay.
And they went to the CEO founders and said, think back to the first year you were in business.
Right.
Tell us what were the greatest challenges or biggest mistakes that you made.
Sure.
Number one answer, not enough capital. 43% of those CEOs said that was their biggest challenge or biggest mistake was not having enough capital. Now, the second biggest one was a bad hire of a key employee,
Okay.
but it was a distant 16% of them.
Okay.
And then we didn't test the product enough was 13%.
Right.
So not enough capital dwarfs all the other answers, really. And if you go to Y Combinator, which is a seed accelerator out in Silicon Valley,
Okay.
so they're really focused on the high-tech companies.
Sure.
Ask them what are the biggest problems.
Right, exactly.
A couple of very interesting things jump out. Number one, they'll tell you that founders of failed companies tend to not quit their day jobs. Founders of successful companies do.
So they go all in.
So they're all
That's
in,
what it
they're
takes.
committed. It's not a part-time thing. This is a full-time commitment, and they see those that haven't got the time or don't make the commitment often fail. The other thing that they find is that many of these founders have great ideas.
Okay.
But they don't have a clue about who their customers really should be. They haven't identified what's my target market
Sure.
and why will they buy from me. And there's another little element here which is kind of fascinating, and this is just my opinion, but Having passion is very important, right,
Sure.
as a requirement.
Exactly.
But passion can also blind you. If you have too much of it, what happens when you do some research is you only hear what you want to hear.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so you have to maintain an objective view, and many founders don't do enough of that objective reviewing, and that's why it's important to get another set of eyes, whether it's a
Absolutely.
SCORE sponsor
Yeah.
or another entrepreneur that's been successful or some
Exactly.
other advisor to make sure that your feet are firmly planted on the ground.
Exactly.
So the biggest problems to me have to do with not doing enough homework
Got it.
about who's going to buy my product.
Exactly.
That's what I've found.
Those are really great points. And, what I tell a lot of entrepreneurs whenever I talk to them is that you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to be alone. That's why we're here, right? That's why SCORE exists. There's a lot of mentors out here. There's a lot of knowledgeable retired executives and also current small business owners themselves who would volunteer their time to actually help you out. So, come on in and see us, because what I've found out for myself as a small business owner is that having a mentor can really go ahead and save you not only time, but a lot of money as well from all the mistakes that you make.
Well, let's face it, most people have not been educated on how to start a business.
Right.
So they do the best they can, and they don't have the roadmap.
Right.
And I think that's where some outside advisors can provide the roadmap. I mean, talking about failure isn't meant to scare anyone.
No, not
What
at
we
all.
want to do is to make sure that you avoid stepping on a landmine.
Exactly. And you can't be afraid of failure, because I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot of my lessons, not just from my successes, but from my failures. That's where it's really ingrained in your heart and your mind. You never forget your mistake. I hope not.
Well,
You
that's
don't
true.
repeat it.
And if you ever really want a great story, do a little history on Abraham Lincoln
Yes.
or even Walt Disney.
True.
Both of them were big failures throughout their career until the last thing they did, being president and running and starting Mickey Mouse.
That's a good point. And I actually did a workshop in regards to being persistent and failing, because I help a lot of small business owners get capital as well. One of the causes of failure is that if you look at, you named Walt Disney, but the name I'm going to bring up is, Starbucks. So basically, if Howard Schultz quit when he was turned down by banks 242 times, there would not be a Starbucks.
Right.
And so there's countless
That's
examples.
tenacity.
Exactly. So you've got Lincoln, we've got Howard Schultz, Walt Disney.
Yeah, in fact, Disney was fired from his first job, which was a newspaper or a magazine, because the editor said, "This guy is not creative."
Oh, really?
Yep.
And this is where you really got to believe in yourself as well. Not just the belief in yourself, but back it up with your research. Back it up with, does my business model work? And if I'm not sure, hey, why don't I go in and get a mentor?
Yes.
Right? So I know you said you were consulting for SCORE for 5 years now. So can you walk through that experience? What do we do? How do we go ahead and reach you? Do we call SCORE? How does that work? Can you walk the listeners and the viewers out there?
Well, if you go to our website, there's a couple of main tabs. One
Okay.
is a mentoring tab, and you can click on that, and that will show all our mentoring locations, and you can actually set up an appointment to see a mentor. And the job of the mentor to start with
Okay.
is to just get a sense of what your issues are, what your needs are.
Right.
And then it may not be best suited for them, and their job is to find someone else that might be perfectly suited for the issues that you want to address. And you can set up these meetings at a number of locations across the Cook and Lake County.
Okay.
And you can go as often as the mentors are around.
Right.
And our tagline is "for the life of your business," so you can
Yes.
keep doing this forever. For the consulting for in-business clients that are larger, you can go to our consulting tab, and there's a form that you fill out. You can also see a brochure and some videos,
Sure.
testimonials. But there's a
Right.
form that you fill out that says, here's what my issues are or where I'd like some help.
Gotcha.
And then when you submit it, I get an email with the information, and I call the owner. We talk about what the issues are, and at some point in time, we get agreement on what the project should entail. And my job is to find the right complement of resources to focus on those issues and get the company to the next level.
That's fantastic. And just to remind you, you can check out our website at chicago.score.org. And as we wrap up, I just want to go ahead and really ask you, what advice would you give someone who is looking to start their own business?
Well, the first one goes to back to something I said earlier, and that is if you don't have enough capital to start and maintain your business, wait until you do. I think that's really critical.
Got it.
The second thing is really there's so much potential stress that you really need to talk with people that you're familiar with that has
Sure.
a lot of interaction with you and ask them how you handle anxiety and stress.
Yes.
They'll tell you if you're kind of off the walls or what, but it's very
Exactly.
important. If you have trouble handling stress, you're going to have difficulty as an entrepreneur.
I agree.
The other thing that I think is important is the mental focus that you have.
Okay.
So if you have a business idea and that's all you think about, everything else is secondary, that's a really good start. And if at some point in time
I
you
could vouch for
find
that one. It's
Well-
remember, focus, and implement.
well, and another thing is if you take criticism as motivation,
Yes.
that's a big positive. So if somebody says, Jeff, I don't think you can really get that done, and you walk away saying, that's just what I need, I'm going to
Exactly.
prove to them that they're wrong about me.
Absolutely. Exactly.
That's the kind of tenacity and stamina that's really necessary. So
Absolutely.
I think those things are important. I also think it's important to take a look at your own stability.
Okay.
I mean, if in your employment history, for example,
Yeah.
you might not like to hear this,
Yeah.
but if you change jobs every couple of years, you're not maybe a marathon runner.
Yeah.
And
that's
this is a
good point.
marathon business. And so you're talking about 6 to 7 years to get something firmly planted. If you have a lot of employment turnover, you have to spend some time thinking of yourself, am I really ready for a marathon or not?
Right, exactly. And that's a really great point because when you actually go ahead and see a mentor who's a good one, we will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Because that's the only way you'll grow. We're not going to go ahead and sugarcoat your situation. You got to really face it, your problems and issues at hand.
And our job really is to be candid. We want to be gentle about it. We want to be clear about it. We want to be engaging about it.
Absolutely.
But you need to understand some of the issues that we've talked about here so that you're properly prepared.
Yes,
What we want more than anything else is to see you succeed.
absolutely.
It makes us feel good. It makes the SBA feel good.
Absolutely.
And it's good for the country. So, I mean,
Exactly.
that's really what our goals and ambitions are all about.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being here today.
My
and
pleasure.
For all the work that you've done for SCORE and small businesses. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And for the viewers, if you would like some free business mentoring, or if you would like to become a SCORE mentor, we would love for you to connect with us. Again, our website is chicago.score.org. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time at SCORE TV. Take care.